couple of weeks during the break for college, but they went back over the weekend. But I'm doing well. My wife is doing well. So busy times.
Yes, yes, yes. So, I ran into you the other night at a meeting. And, and based on the people that were there in the conversation, and I was like, oh, I never had Ed on my show. Get Ed on my show. So, first of all, the meeting, there were not a lot of people that looked like me. There was like, 6, 7 black people in the audience, and there was a whole bunch of white folks. And so my first question is, these were different neighborhood associations. I didn't see a neighborhood association for Mattapan, Hyde Park, Rosendale, Dorchester, and Roxbury. And I was just wondering about that, because the gentleman it was about bikes, right? Pedal Safe Boston, and I was just wondering who organized it, and because I don't understand why none of those neighborhood associations weren't included.
Yeah, I'm not sure why some neighborhoods associations were there, others weren't there. In my neighborhood in South Boston, I know there was at least one that was there, but I also know that there was 4 or 5 others that weren't there. It's probably just a start. They probably need to ensure that more neighborhood associations are invited to the meetings if they're having any more meetings. But I would stay in contact with the group that is working on this transportation related issue, and it's about ensuring that every neighborhood is represented, every demographic of the city is included. And I think that's an important question you asked, and certainly it was the first meeting, but going forward, it's important that everybody is included.
Right, because the bike lanes are a horror for some of us, and so I was curious as to, I saw my friend Josh Kraft in there. I don't know Jay Cashman, but I believe they're part of that North End. The North End, they have some type of organization over there.
There's a lot of representatives for Fenway, Back Bay, and like the other side of Boston.
Austin, Brighton.
That's good that like a lot of people came out, but not enough people came from like this side of Boston, because we also have the same issues down here, the same bike lanes. So it's like, just makes me wonder, like, why didn't nobody come? Maybe the advertisement, the marketing wasn't hitting like this neighborhood or something.
But I also think, no, that's a good point, Wes, and I also thought your point at the meeting, Priscilla, was excellent. You highlighted exactly what your concerns were, but you also talked about the lack of community engagement, community involvement as it relates to transportation in your neighborhood. And I think it's important that your voice is heard, that your residents, your neighbors, their voice is also heard. But it's also about organizing and staying active, staying engaged. And I think what is happening in getting involved is exactly what you should be doing in holding elected officials especially accountable, asking difficult questions, asking fair questions. But there should be an opportunity for residents to be respected during these types of major transportation challenges.
I believe we have a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Priscilla Flint. How are you?
Hey, Mr. Bill Wright. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Hi, Ed. How are you doing?
Good to hear from you, Bill.
Same here. Priscilla,
Yes.
I have a question for Councilor Flynn.
Okay.
Have you considered the possibility of uniting with Josh Kraft in a campaign to be elected mayor of the city of Boston this year?
Well, thank you, Bill, and thank you for your leadership in the city, and we've always respected you in your involvement. No, I haven't talked to anybody about working together on any type of campaign. I do know we have significant challenges facing the city. I hope to be involved and engaged in doing exactly what I'm doing and talking and leading on challenging issues. And That's what I hope to do. I'm honored to work on the council. I have a great district, and I hope to continue doing that. But to answer you directly, no, I haven't had any discussion with any potential candidates about any type of partnerships.
Have you thought about
Well,
it?
well, if I could, I would like to just say why I think that would be important for the city. We know that there have been a number of decisions made by the current mayor, Michelle Wu, that are not in keeping with the desires of the citizens of Boston. And it's become a long list, which begins immediately with her refusal to return to an elected school committee that 77% of Boston voters said that we wanted. In my experience in politics over 30-plus years, I have never seen any politician go against the wishes of such a large majority of their population. These are things that I think a Boston-raised individual would never do. And as I said, there's a long list. You can include the notion of moving the John O'Brien High School from Roxbury to West Roxbury. And of course, that was something that was highly opposed by the black community. There are financial issues, such as her battle on Beacon Hill that was unsuccessful. We need to have somebody in that position, in that office, who knows and understands Bostonians, in my opinion.
Well, thank you, Bill, for the comment. I'm going to continue reaching out and listening. I'll work with anyone in this city that wants to contribute something positive to make things better for the residents of Boston. It doesn't matter to me what neighborhood they come from. I'm here to listen. I don't have all the answers, but I love listening to people and working with people. Hopefully I'm respecting people as well, but it's important that everybody's voice is heard, and I do look forward to working with anyone that wants to work with me. But you are right. We have a lot of significant challenges facing the city right now, and including transportation challenges, a struggling Boston public school system.
What about taxes being increased by a phenomenal amount of money, which doesn't make any sense to me?
Right. And I appreciate your work over the years, Ed. And one of the things that strikes me about Boston is that if you think about how many long-term families who've lived here, whose families helped build this beautiful city, more and more are being priced out of Boston.
Yeah.
And being priced out by newcomers who might be considered gentrifiers, who have deep pockets and heavy bank accounts, who basically are buying out those who helped to build the city. If this trend continues and there's no balance to that, the whole city could eventually end up being like the south end of Boston that went from a very racially diverse neighborhood, as you know, to almost an entirely white resident neighborhood today.
Yeah,
I don't think that's fair.
No, I agree with you. You are right. I represent the South End, and it's a wonderful, wonderful community. I also have seen, and I love driving through Roxbury, a couple times a week as well, and walking around. I love the neighborhood. But you are right. It's you don't see the working class African American residents there as much as you used to. You don't see a lot of African American seniors. I do agree with you. They have been priced out of a wonderful neighborhood. They've been in Roxbury during very difficult times in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And now that the economy is doing well, it seems like there's not a place for African Americans in the heart of the black community in Roxbury. So I agree with you. I think there has to be a place for longtime residents in this city, whether it's in Roxbury or Dorchester or Mattapan or South Boston. And but you are right. The tax situation that you mentioned is impacting most seniors, I would say, most people on fixed income, persons of disabilities, even working class families, can't afford to live in Boston. I was at the grocery store last week in South Boston, and there was a elderly person was looking at a can of soup, Campbell's soup, and the woman was staring at the Campbell's soup. I said to her, "What are you looking at the thing of soup for? It's a chicken noodle soup. What are you looking at it for?" Right. She's looking at the price.
Yeah.
And I said, "What's wrong with the price?" She said, I don't have the extra 20 cents to buy this can of soup." And I'm saying to myself, this is a woman that's worked hard her whole life. She has a retirement from the city. I think her retirement might be $30,000 or $40,000 a year. Not much money. Maybe she gets a little bit of Social Security, but 20 cents was a significant amount of money for her if that can of soup went up. I think those are the issues we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right, and that's a very sad commentary, but not unusual. And as you, of course, remember, when we were tasked with desegregating public housing in Boston in the 1980s, when your father, of course, Ray Flynn was the mayor, and Doris Bunty headed the Boston Housing Authority, there were some 60,000, folks who depended upon BHA subsidy to be able to live in Boston. And it is the state today that many, many people without housing subsidies could not still live within the city boundaries.
That's right. You referenced the integration of South Boston, the public housing development, and the
property taxes too.
And
what about the deed? What bothers me, another thing that bothers me, the deed restriction. The fact that they want to raise the deed restriction to 50 years. That doesn't make any sense. A mortgage is only 30 years. So how you going to have someone be deed restriction to sell their property or refinance their property for 50 years? That to me doesn't make any sense. And then when you ask the mayor about it, she tells us to ask Sheila Dillon. Well, isn't she Sheila Dillon's boss?
She is. Sheila Dillon is the chief of housing for the city of Boston, works directly for Mayor Wu. She's also worked for Mayor Walsh and Mayor Janey and
Mayor Menino.
And Mayor Menino. But you are correct.
So
Ed,
go ahead, Bill.
I'm sorry, Ed, I understand that the financial advisor for the mayor these days is the same person who was the financial advisor for San Francisco's Mayor London Breed, who recently lost her reelection bid. And it doesn't make sense to me that if a person has shown that they are not able to do that job in a city like San Francisco, that somewhat akin to the size of Boston, that it does not seem that that's the person who should be making financial decisions or giving financial advice to the mayor of Boston. And one of the things that was very clear during this recent Beacon Hill battle was that the mayor or her lobbyist at Beacon Hill had not made sure that she got Boston senators' backing for her tax proposal. And that would be the first thing you should do so that you don't end up with having it passed on the House side without having it passed on the Senate side. That's not a savvy politician.
Thank you, Bill. One thing I'm concerned with is the spending in Boston.
Me too.
We just saw a report out. I don't know who put the report out, but there was 300 new jobs added over the last two years in the city of Boston, and most of them were high-paying professionals in City Hall. I don't think we need to hire that amount of people coming into City Hall to basically to create positions for many of them. I understand we need city services. We need the workers in the neighborhoods. We don't need them hanging around City Hall all day, but we need them in the neighborhoods, fixing parks, cleaning streets. But having high-priced city employees come to City Hall, they're creating jobs. Well, what happens is you have to pay for the salaries. And how do you pay for the salaries? You raise taxes. And I think people want us, before we raise taxes, I think people want us to be fiscally responsible, fiscally disciplined, just like your own home. You can't spend money if you don't have it. If you want to go out for dinner with your family and you don't have the money, well, you just don't go out. You have to conserve money. You can't spend money when you don't have it. I think that's the major challenge facing the city of Boston right now.
Well,
I agree, Ed. I'm sorry, I agree, Ed. But and as you may know, I've known the mayors of Boston since Kevin White was elected in 1967, and our Boston Latin School Student Council got to meet the new mayor at City Hall. And one of the things that's very evident in today's Boston City Hall is that there are many younger folks who are in key positions, and it does not appear to me that there are enough people around who have some institutional history who could advise some of those younger folks who may not realize how things have been done in the past, not necessarily everything good or bad, but they have those advisory folks who have been in place for a time who know the history. What do you think about that issue in City Hall?
I agree with you, Bill. I don't think there's enough people working in City Hall, especially in the highest ranks, that are from the city. And I know people will disagree with me on that, but I do think you have to have a grasp of the neighborhoods to understand the city, understand how the city works, how neighborhood services, delivery of basic city services. I think you have to have an understanding of the neighborhoods. I'm not criticizing people. I'm not being critical of anybody, but it does help. It does help significantly. And I know that there are many people with high-paying jobs in City Hall that are not from the city. I'm not here to exclude them, but it does matter, in my opinion, when you are from the city, because you understand not just the neighborhoods, you understand the people, you understand their concerns, and you have some built-in trust with people that you knew from Little League, you knew from the church, you knew from the neighborhood, you knew from a civic organization, and you value their opinion when they give you a little bit of advice on how to make the city better. And Bill, one final point, the best recommendations on how to run the city usually, in my opinion, come from the residents of Boston.
I agree, and that's why one perfect example, which I'll finish with, is that when you propose to move the John O'Brien from Roxbury, which happens to be the very same land that I lived on when I was 3 years old, when it was, Lamont Street, you have not the history to understand that if John O'Brien were alive today, he would be astounded to see even his own sons supporting the mayor on that proposal, when we know how hard in the Boston school system we've worked to have decent schools where our kids can go to college and succeed. So those are the kind of things that you're speaking about. If you don't have that knowledge, if you had the right people around you, just proposing that, if Priscilla was asked, if I was asked about that before Mayor Wu went forward with it, we would explain to her why that was such a bad idea. And it is no surprise that she had to back off that. But again, they're missing that kind of knowledge, as you just discussed, and knowing the people and knowing the history.
And the problem is that they make decisions without asking the community. And then when the community gets in the uproar, then they want to say, oh, we'll have a community meeting. You're supposed to have a community meeting before you make these decisions. And what's up with the issue with the budget for the school department? I think it's $1.4 billion or more, and they're closing schools. Why are they closing all these schools, and what are they going to do with these schools? I have a suggestion with what can be done with these closed schools, and why? And half of the students aren't going to school. So where is the money? Show me the money, because it doesn't make sense to have a $1.4 billion budget for schools. You're supposed to have 40-something thousand students in the schools, and only half of them show up.
Not only that, but these schools don't have enough books. They don't have enough resources for every kid that's
they don't
there.
have
They don't have enough laptops for everybody that's there. We're reading books that are very old. Like, the information's not new. So
They don't have a lot of technical, they don't have the technology the up-to-date technology that a lot of other schools. And that brings me to the question of the pilot,
Yeah.
payment in lieu of taxes. There's no reason why the state and the city and the federal government, whoever, they should get together and create a law that says that these schools should give back. Northeastern, Harvard, MIT, all these schools,
Taking up
Northeastern,
Boston space and not giving back to the people.
right?
Buying up all this land, but it's not helping the people that live here. Yeah.
Right, they're the worst gentrifiers, I think. And so,
In Priscilla, and there's no reason why a city like Boston, with a school like, for example, Boston University, should have fewer than 4% black students on campus.
that's, I'm telling you, Boston needs needs to change. It needs change administration, and I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm just gonna be honest because it doesn't make any sense. I've been here.
Well, thank you for the chance to speak with Councilor Flynn, and thank you for bringing these terrific guests onto your program, Priscilla.
Thank you, Bill. When you gonna come on?
Will do.
Okay. Have a great day. Thank
You
you.
too.
Thank you, Bill.
I got
Take care, Ed.
I got a note from a longtime teacher that's been teaching in Boston for over 30 plus years that says the pilot and charter schools are eating up Boston Public Schools budget money.
Yeah, because if you go to a charter school, Boston Public School money go with you, which I don't understand that. And then if you fail in that school, they send you back, but they don't send the money back. And that's insane. That's stupid.
Boston spends per student more than any school department in the country. Including New York and Chicago or Los Angeles. I always thought that money was not the problem in Boston. It's how we spend the money. I do think we have a lot of administrators at BPS, at the bowling building, in the high paying assistant superintendents.
Hey, Robin.
But Wes, you just mentioned the kids don't have books in the school.
Yeah, there's not a lot of resources for everybody that's there. So some kids are just playing around with the time or just hanging out with their friends or not going to class because they don't see the actual benefit of going to school.
That's the opinion that we really need to listen to going forward is the voice of young people and their parents as well. How can we improve public education in Boston? It's listening to the people, listening to residents, listening to students. But I think we need to do a better job of ensuring that we provide every child with a good school, a good learning environment, a safe environment. And we were talking about, jobs in Boston also. We need to, in getting into these great colleges, we need to educate our high school students so that they can get into Northeastern and Boston University and Boston College. In my opinion, they should go there for free.
Yeah, I know Northeastern has some type of program where they don't advertise this. They have a lot of scholarships, BU. But they don't advertise it. So if we don't know, how do we find out about it? That's the question. Because Northeastern and Harvard and all these other colleges that are taking our property and gentrifying our community, they could give scholarships. Like you said, you should be going to school for free, and they can give upgraded laptops, computers. They could even the teachers now and for a long time have been purchasing stuff for their students, and that doesn't make any sense. The beginning of the school, the kid comes home with a long list of stuff for the school that the school's supposed to be paying for, and the parents have to pay for it. So the parents and the teachers are really paying for the stuff for the school. So where is that money going? $1.4 billion. It just doesn't make any sense.
We're spending about 175 million or maybe 180 million dollars on transportation related issues. Major amount of money, major challenge. And the other thing you mentioned, Priscilla, Harvard University, most people think it's located in Cambridge, which it is, but they actually own more property in Boston than they do in Cambridge.
Yeah, because they've taken over Brighton, Austin, Brighton.
Yep, and they don't pay taxes. They pay
That's right.
payment in lieu of taxes, but
They don't do that either.
yes.
That's the problem. They came up with a voluntary thing. Oh, if you feel like it, send us some money. But that doesn't work because they have billions in endowment, and they need to be given back. And I just don't understand why nobody don't want to stand up to the colleges and tell them, yeah, it is payment in lieu of taxes, but you did promise to pay something, and some of you all aren't giving us anything. And you wonder why our kids aren't going to school. They're bored. Since COVID, we've had a very decline in school. But if the decline in school, going to school, why is the budget going up like that? Answer me that question.
Right, and I expect the Boston Public School budget, it'll be released soon, that will go up significantly, I think, in my opinion. And we'll have an opportunity going forward, especially over the next couple of months, to talk about the BPS budget. But what I think is important about it, Priscilla and Wes, is residents have to be more engaged and more active on the budget process. They have to come in at the very beginning and testify before the city council and have one-on-one meetings with city councilors about what's important to them, to their constituents, to their neighbors rather. But residents really need to play a more active and engaged role on this budget.
I agree with that. Sometimes there are some residents that come up to City Hall that ask questions, but also it's like I run into a lot of residents that have no idea that these things are occurring. Like they don't even know that like we have a project to change Cummins Highway coming in and like changing that whole road, or Blue Hill Ave. Those projects, some of these projects, people don't even know about them, so they're not going to come up to your office and ask you questions about it because they don't even know what's happening until it's too late. That's
And
another thing too sometimes,
Yep.
So it's like, I feel like maybe City Hall and people who are in power, like leaders, could like maybe try to, like Priscilla said, maybe try to have more community meetings and try to like get the word out. Because I know Mayor Wu has like neighborhood like liaisons for every single neighborhood in Boston. It's like the word for when we're making big changes like this should already be in the residents' ears, should already be at our doors, should be in our emails. Like we should already know what's happening.
That's
but yet
right.
We're not getting the information sent to us.
And that's why we need Boston Praise Radio and TV. I believe we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Good morning. This is Brother Jamal. How y'all doing?
Hey, Jamal, haven't heard you.
Good morning,
in a
Jamal.
minute. How you
Good
been?
morning. Now, a couple things real quick. Just because I saw in the newspaper now that Councilor Flynn, you've decided not to run for mayor, and I'm wondering if there was any truth to the rumors that beforehand you were actually trying to learn how to play the piano and attempting to have a baby.
It's good to hear from you, Jamal. It's good to hear from you. You threw the bait out there, but this kid from South Boston is not going to go swimming after the bait, you know? You know how I roll, Jamal.
Yeah, I'm just joshing with you.
I know you are.
The serious question though is, talk to me now, and I don't know if you guys were talking about it before, but now talk to me about what your initial feelings are with the closure of South Boston High School, with all its historic, stuff there.
I was disappointed in the announcement by BPS to close the high school. I learned about it from the media, in fact, and it was very disappointing. And once I learned about it from the media, I started receiving calls from parents, neighbors, mostly parents of students there. And this is even before I had the opportunity to talk to BPS about it.
So BPS doesn't. They just have a meeting with their administration and just decide what school to close. They don't ask any of the city councilors.
No. No, so it put us in a bad spot because then we had to learn and call up BPS and ask what is happening, and they would say, you know, there's a high school that is closing, Excel High School, formerly called South Boston High School, formerly called Excel High School, Monument High School, I should say. I was a substitute school teacher up there for a
And I
period
graduated
of
from
the
there.
time. I know.
What?
Wes is a graduate, but the communication process was lousy. It's probably the most diverse high school in the city of Boston,
Yeah.
in my opinion. One program I especially liked up there is the junior ROTC program. I was pretty active with those
spent some time
students.
with that,
yeah, and there is not a more diverse group of students than the junior ROTC students. There was African American, Latino, a lot
Everybody.
of everybody, a lot of
Everybody,
Asians,
yeah.
a few whites, but they were all working together. They were doing their best. They were studying leadership, accountability, being responsible. They were studying math and science, of course, but they were doing their best. They don't have political influence. They don't have any power, but that program was working.
Yeah.
And
Now, Counselor,
yep.
is it true though too that they plan to like this is a temporary shutdown and they're planning to revamp it and have a high school or some form of school there again, or is that false? And then also too, when was that building? Like, how old is that school building itself?
Super old. Like,
Yeah, it's
around for a long
it's
time.
World War One period. I don't know the exact date it was built, but speaking of World War One, they do have a lot of World War One memorabilia up there. They have a beautiful museum, so we want to preserve a lot of the memorabilia
So
supporting.
why are they closing the school?
I think the school has been struggling for many years in terms of academics and low enrollment.
yeah.
A
A lot of dropouts too. Just
lot of
like,
dropouts.
There's a lot of fights, violence at the school. It's kind of been hard for kids to actually take it seriously. Like even during COVID, I remember just some people not coming to class, but then around graduation trying to make up just to get their diploma, and it's just like I feel like a lot of kids just aren't really like engaged with what's going on, or feel like there's not enough like to actually teach them. Like when it gets hard and you don't understand the information, they just push back, and instead of like there's not enough help at the schools to like really get the kids motivated and like learning some of the information, because all of us have different reading levels, different math levels. No matter how old you are, we all have different reading and math levels, so some people need extra help, and that school didn't have the money for the extra help for some of these kids too.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever a priority for BPS to make it into an exceptional high school, in my opinion. They didn't provide the resources, the support to make the school an effective place for learning and teaching, and it showed after so many years of decline and negative results that the investment was not there in Excel High School, and the students suffered. That's who suffered, really. It was the students. The teachers up there did their best. They were wonderful people. They tried.
Mm-hmm.
The administrators did their best. They tried. But they could only work with what they had, and it wasn't a top priority for BPS to make this a successful high school, in my opinion. And Jamal, to answer your question directly, the school is closing, but there is probably an opportunity for the school to stay open in terms of educating students in transition for particular reasons. I don't think next year on June it'll be the last time they'll be teaching there, but it's a sad day for the high school community that we won't have a traditional high school there. But again, there will be some type of learning taking place, but those plans have not been shared at all with the public.
But okay, but to your point about World War One, you know, and of course Pastor Wall remembers that. But you know,
You better leave my
assuming the
pastor
building-
alone,
Yeah.
Jamal.
Yeah.
Leave my pastor alone.
Yep, that's right. That's you telling Priscilla. You telling Priscilla.
But I'm assuming the building is in need of some repairs. God knows what the heating system is like in there or whatever. But I'm assuming, you know, the building is in need of some fundamental repairs. I'm just hoping that, of course, it's not, you know, one of these things where all of a sudden, you know, in the next 5 years, all of a sudden it's condos or something, right? But then the other point, and this is why it was interesting to me, because when I saw it in the paper, I didn't really know how to feel about it. You know, because obviously with its, you know, conflicted racial history there, I almost was like, well, maybe this is, you know, a fitting end, or, you know, it wouldn't be enough money or traffic there to like turn it into some sort of Boston Black history racial busing museum or something like that. Maybe combined with the World War One element or something, of whatever the historical significance of the area is. But overall, I was conflicted.
I think a lot of people were, to be honest with you. I don't disagree with you. It's had a troubled history. It's had a troubled past. It wasn't a high school you went to, and I'll be honest, to get an exceptional education, in my opinion. Yeah. That's not the reason you went to South Boston High School. But it still has a history. It still has a past in the community, in the city. But what's important is what's happening to the students that received an education there, that struggled receiving an education there. How are we supporting them to get into another high school? How are we ensuring that they get the academic support for them and their parent or guardian? They need our assistance as well. And you know, that's the real priority I have, is making sure that we support our students leaving that school, that they can get an education. Also, Jamal, I agree with you. I don't want to see condos there. Yeah. I don't think that's the answer.
And that's why we need an elected school committee.
All right. I'm going to jump off the line.
I agree with you, Priscilla. I think we need an elected school committee as well.
Thanks, Jamal.
Look, I'm going to jump off the line. I just want to leave y'all with this. You know, there's been, you know, major news in the city of Boston with a lot of families that we got love for. And, you know, so my condolences to the Barrows family at the loss of their child. And also congratulations to Mayor Wu and her family welcoming a new child. Yeah. So, you know, whatever happens in this political sphere, I think we can always, you know, take time to respect, you know, the humanity and life and love and peace.
Right.
Jamal, you said it perfectly. I think you represent the city of Boston with your comments. We have our prayers for the Barrows family on their terrible loss, and we also are very happy and congratulating Mayor Wu on their wonderful daughter. So I think you summed it up perfectly, Jamal.
Yes. Thank you,
Thank
Jamal.
you. God bless y'all. Peace.
God bless you, too.
Thank you.
I believe we have another caller. Caller, you're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
I just wanted to make a comment. I heard about the XL High School, which is unfortunate. I've been through the busing in Boston. I was there trying not to attend XL High School, which was South Boston, or to go to Charlestown, any of those schools. Mm-hmm. And recently, I had visited another school that looks a little, I don't know, empty or something. I was wondering what was going on there at City on a Hill. I think the one is located in Dorchester somewhere.
The Citrus Street one, above the sneaker store?
I forgot the name of the street. It's called City on a Hill, and I went there and I was wondering what kind of learning was actually going on there. I think that it was high school students maybe learning math on maybe a 5th grade level or something. Wow. I'm not really sure. And I was totally shocked, you know, by the way the classroom was being run. And I don't want to blame it on teachers or anything like that. It was just the whole environment, the building, the atmosphere. I didn't feel comfortable as a long-term educator. I just wanted to get out of there when I went. So It's just, different things like that I'm noticing around the city. Even I've gone to some of the elementary schools, and some of them have students that they can't really handle, and they're chasing them around the building all day. I'm like, what is going on here? If I'm teaching in a classroom and students are running through the classroom, running through the doors, it's kind of,
Yeah, but I think
I was
don't
one
know.
of those kids.
The way I look at it, Carla, is I feel like they should have like ombudsmen in the school. Like they should have like maybe retired moms or mothers or teachers or people that are interested and care about the children, so that they would have a space that instead of sending them to the principal's office or whatever, they could send them to this ombudsman person who can talk to them. Because sometimes our children leave home and they don't have food to eat.
Right.
Sometimes they
Yeah.
leave home and their parents are arguing. They may have just lost a loved one or something. And the first thing
Yeah.
the school system wants to do is medicate them. And I'm very against medicating our children.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. I would just add what I think, especially coming out of the pandemic, I think we need to invest more resources into mental health counseling for our
Exactly.
students and bringing more mental health professionals into our schools. That's really been a top priority of Julia Mejia and Erin Murphy and others as well. But they really have led on this issue, and I think they're exactly right. I think to educate a child, we need to ensure that child, that student, has the necessary mental health counseling and follow up in ensuring that they have the support at home as well. And that might also be food access. That might be some support for the mother or for the father or for the guardian. But it's not just about educating the child. It's also about supporting the family.
That's true. I
Exactly.
agree. Carla,
I really
sorry.
quickly, I just wanted to say that I understand all of that, but we need to consider everyone. We need to include everyone in this discussion, because we're talking about students that have mental health illness and social emotional different illnesses.
Yep.
But what about the student that does not, and they have to
They
go
won't-
through all
they
of that?
won't- yeah,
Why
they-
why we're sacrificing? So we need to get a balance here.
So true.
That's a good point.
Carla, how are you listening to us?
I'm quickly going to my classroom and taking a break on my cell phone, so it's kind of really.
Oh, you're a teacher.
I'm in the system still,
Oh,
but
okay.
I've been a long-term teacher,
Okay.
so I
Well,
still, yeah.
You also went through
So
busing as a
I'm
kid?
firsthand looking at these things on a daily basis, and
okay.
it's really, really difficult.
Maybe if you
It's
want
really
to
difficult.
drop me an email, I'd love to communicate with you. It's ed.flynn@boston.gov. I'd love to give you a call back and talk
Oh,
to you.
Ed Flynn. Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
good day.
you, Carla.
Thank you, caller.
Good morning, Carla. You're on the air. Good morning, Carla. You're on the air.
Good morning, Sister Priscilla. How you doing?
I'm good, Grace. How are you?
Good, good. I have a question for Ed Flynn.
Good morning, Grace.
Good morning.
Good day.
I'm also a graduate of South Boston High School, but that Excel Academy, a lot of times, the special needs, placing students who are placed in special needs, then they don't have an education plan.
Mm-hmm.
Those special needs students aren't being taught. And so the schools are using, when they lose funding, they don't want to lose a teacher, they put another child in special needs.
Mm-hmm.
Now these special needs students are staying there all the way to graduation. Then they don't even get a high school diploma. But I'm an educator, and I just don't believe that all our students can't learn.
That's right. I don't believe that
Because
either.
if you're
They
an
learn
educator
different.
and you think that
Yep.
Yep.
if you think that these students can't learn, then you're not going to challenge them either. And so I think, I volunteered at the Build program at the Grover Cleveland, and they introduced us that, these are the kids that's not going to make it, because this school is only 26% of the students. And I've just found that very
Yeah, I agree. Priscilla mentioned that, students learn in different ways, and I agree with Priscilla. And we also can't give up on any student, regardless of any of their challenges. They need our support with academic assistance, with social emotional support, but also their family needs support as well with various social programs. It's about educating the entire family, and that's
I
something
agree.
I'm going to focus on.
I agree. We have another caller. Thanks for calling in, Grace. Keep listening.
Thank you, Grace.
Okay, Karen? Pastor K?
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning. Good morning.
I just wanted to try to say, I know you guys are running out of time, so I'm going to try to say this quickly. I so agree with what the last caller said about Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that, if you're an educator, you cannot afford to believe that certain children can't succeed. And just by example, one of our kids, all three of our kids went to, now I can't think of it, neighborhood house charter school. And they really had not figured out how she learned best. And it got back to me, and that particular child is very artistic, like graphic design and stuff. And it got back to me that her teacher had said, I hope her parents encourage her in the arts because she's not academically inclined. That got back to me. I couldn't get to the school fast enough. And, that's the headmaster at the time, which was Dr. Andrews, and the assistant dean. And, I thank God that he really did calm me down because I wanted her head. I absolutely wanted her head. And a few days later, we had a conversation. She was a young teacher. She apologized. So all of that really meant nothing to me. But I asked her to look me in my eyes. I said, because if you don't believe my daughter can learn, then I don't ever want you anywhere near her. So I need to hear from you that you need to figure out how she learns, and you're willing to try that. And things worked out okay. And she's great now. She's in a master's program. She's getting her ABA. Okay, fine.
All right.
So,
right. Thanks for,
I just wanted
Karen.
to say a quick
Pastor
word
K.
about City on the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
That same daughter, she went to City on the Hill. She's a 2014 graduate. And City on the Hill, unfortunately, has lost their charter. So they are closing, or they may have closed in December. And I watched the evolution of City on the Hill. When she was there, I was part of parent-teacher organization. The parents had a large voice, and they were very involved. And then when she graduated, I was on the board for about 4 or 5 years. And I think I just want to challenge the notion, about City on the Hill, because things change. You get a different set of teachers. You unionize. You get new administrators rather. And the culture can shift, and the culture changed, and it did change. And I can't say that led to its downfall, but I can only say the culture changed significantly. Because when my daughter was there was no such thing as a fight. No such thing as a fight. I really felt safe with her being there. So, just as we have the right to certainly present a picture of a school or a system, and they all need work, I just wanted to say that I was very satisfied with the education that my daughter got there back then, and unfortunately they've closed.
Thank you, Pastor K.
I'm going to jump off.
Yes, because we have 1 minute left, and we have another
Okay,
caller.
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Karen.
Good
Bye-bye.
morning,
Thank you.
caller. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello?
Good day.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
I'm getting on a little late because I had some other.
Yeah, well, you got 30
problem.
seconds. We'll give
I just have 30 seconds before you're off the air.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. Because I wanted to touch on that program with the housing bill with Boston Community Capital.
Oh,
Blue Hub
Blue Hub
Capital.
Capital. Yeah,
Yes.
they will be talking about them until they do the right thing. So,
Yes.
thank you. I appreciate you calling in. You know about Blue Hill Capital?
I do. I've been following the issue.
Yeah, that's a major issue. We need to get that resolved. I hate that we only have an hour, because it just seems like as we're getting good, time runs out. So we got to figure out how we can get more time on Boston Praise Radio and TV. And Pastor is giving me the signal.
Priscilla,
Thank you.
the callers were excellent.
Thank you.
The
Thank
callers
you.
were excellent.
There's a lot of good questions. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this is People Power with Priscilla. We are the people. We have the power. We just got to learn how to exercise it. We have to speak up, speak out, stand up. That's why I have the Marcus Anthony Hall Educational Institute, www.maheii.org. We are registering for our next cohort that's starting February 1st. So if you're interested, you have a child between 14 and 24, send them to Marcus Anthony. And if you want to call me, 617-515-6908. Peace and blessings.
Thank you.
Oh, and so go ahead, go ahead,
Thank,
counselor.
thank you, Priscilla. Honored to be here with you, with your guest Wes and Pastor Bruce. I enjoyed it. The callers were excellent. I'd love to come back and talk to you again.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So we are about out of time. I think we have a couple of seconds. I gave you got something to say, Wes?
I'm
2
just
seconds?
appreciative just to have you on the air with us. You know, there's definitely a lot of issues we need to cover soon. So I definitely want to talk up with you like after the show to see what we can actually do